Hello, I'm Philip Duncan. Thanks very much for joining us. We're tracking a heat wave in Australia, which is going to partially come out to New Zealand later this weekend, but we're also tracking some Southern Ocean storms, which are going to make for some unsettled weather around the South Island and Lower North Island. So let's get into it. Here is the high pressure belt on the wind map today. You can see that in the yellow-white colouring. We've got a small tropical low to the northeast, well away from us, and it is not a storm. It's not growing into one either. And down in the Southern Ocean, look at all this low air pressure. So stormy stuff down there, but we're sort of in that calm area with the high pressure over the top of us for now anyway. So we've got a couple of big news stories on our homepage and the news section of our free app. This one at the top is all about the 14-day rainfall outlook. And by the way, the blue you see there in that map showing only just maybe 4 or 5 millimeters for 2 weeks around the North Island. Some areas get none, and you can see the colour in the south. That's all the heavy rain that's about to come in there. So if you need rain or you don't want rain, we've got a whole lot of maps that explain it. And also February kicking off hot. Temperatures into the mid, maybe late 30s, and that is thanks to the heat wave in Australia. So let's try and break it down for you. Now on Wednesday, here's something we haven't seen for a while: showers moving up over the North Island. A few farmers have said to me it may not be the best news if it encourages facial eczema, so we obviously want a decent downpour, not just a little bit to wet the dry grass. Good for gardens, good for water tanks, but I have to be very cautious and say the rainfall totals vary from 0 millimeters to about 10. Some of you might get a little bit more. Obviously you can't get less than 0, but it is patchy, isolated, a little bit windy as well around the South Island on Wednesday. As we get to Thursday, see that red line? That's the air, thickness of the air coming out of Australia. That is showing that hot weather, so keep an eye on that red line. That's Thursday. You can see the nor'wester coming in, squeezing up with a low down here in the Southern Ocean, and that makes for a windy day over the South Island, and in fact, even a little bit windy around the north with potentially a few more showers still passing through. Which brings me to another point: summer ice. It's a term that NZTA came up with. It explains when you get a little bit of rain in summer on the slippery roads, and it makes them even slipperier. So you've got dust and oil and grit that hasn't been washed away by any rain. Throw a couple of showers or a drizzle patch on it, and it's like an ice skating rink, and it's like black ice, what you actually do get in winter. So summer ice, no actual ice, but it's a shower on those warm, slippery roads. So just be aware, the North Island in particular might be dealing with some of that over the next couple of days. Let's head to Friday. That red line out of Australia getting closer to New Zealand, high pressure to the north, anticyclonic winds. You can see why they've got a heat wave. All of these isobars are northerlies or northeasterlies feeding in from the tropics and subtropics and over the desert. Very hot air coming out towards Tasmania, and it starts to come our way, although it's windy and unsettled on Friday. As we go through the weekend, the high gets a little closer. It's still a little bit breezier. You'll probably notice the westerly quarter winds picking up from Thursday onwards, and it really does last right through until next week if you're in the South Island. That's because it's so stormy down there in the Southern Ocean at the moment, and high pressure is up to the north. So the squash zone's in the middle, and that's helping encourage that northwest flow out of Australia this weekend. So our final map for Sunday shows that heat wave extending out across the Tasman Sea, and it's pushing out across the eastern side of New Zealand. So those areas that are circled in red, that is all to do with the thickness of the air, and it suggests that temperatures are going to get up into the mid to late 30s potentially. I say potentially because you kind of need the right wind flow and the right clear skies. But New Zealand's hottest weather comes from a nor'wester out of Australia. It doesn't come from a calm day. It usually comes from a nor'wester straight out of Aussie. So Sunday could be a pretty hot one in some parts of the country, but I got to say, with the storms down here, colder air in this area, you've got plenty of rain for the west coast and cooler temperatures or lower temperatures around the lower South Island. Basically what we've been getting so far this year. That is all from me. We've got a lot to talk about really as we head into next week, so keep up to date with us, and also keep up to date with Met Service for any potential weather warnings that might be coming our way.